Side hustles are a great way to grow your wealth quickly. In fact, I would argue that they are the best way to grow your wealth quickly. The reality is that the days of working a corporate job in hopes of getting that single percentage point raise each and every year while crossing your fingers for that big promotion, only to sock away a few $100s per month to eventually retire in good standing, for better or for worse, these days are really over. And the reason why these days are over is because the narrative surrounding how we make our money is rapidly evolving and rapidly changing, because it used to be that somebody would have to wait for their raise in order to make more money, but nowadays people just simply start a side hustle. In fact, according to a recent survey that was done, it found that nearly half of all Americans have at least one side hustle. But the thing is that though a side hustle is an excellent way to make extra cash, a side hustle ultimately isn't going to grow your wealth and isn't going to change your life in the long term if you don't execute on this side hustle properly. And that brings me to my 20-30-50 rule. Over the last 2 years, I went from making $1,000 per month to making over $25,000 per month, and I did this entirely through side hustles and by executing the 20-30-50 rule. So in this video, I'm going to be going over what exactly this rule is, what it entails, and how you can execute on it yourself. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to be going into detail about how this helped me grow my income from $1,000 a month to $25,000 a month in just about 2 years' time. So let's get started. A side hustle is a great way to make extra money from Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, freelancing, Turo, Airbnb, the list goes on and on. If you need to make extra money, there is no better path to pursue than pursuing a side hustle. But the problem is, a side hustle in itself is not going to fix all of your financial problems, but how you execute on a side hustle can. And that's where the 20-30-50 rule comes into play. You see, the 20-30-50 rule is the rule and the idea of how your income should be distributed amongst your side hustles. And what this means is that 20% of your income should come from an active side hustle, 30% from a passive side hustle, and 50% from a semi-passive side hustle. You see, whenever we talk about income, we have three main categories. We have active, passive, and semi-passive. An active income is an income stream that is directly tied to your time. You are trading time for money with this type of income source. Active side hustles are really great because they're easy to get started with and they're great ways to make cash quickly, but they are very difficult to scale because there's only one of you and there's only 24 hours in a day. A passive side hustle is a side hustle or an income stream that doesn't rely on your time at all in order to function. This would be something that you're able to set up, and then that income stream is generating income whether you're asleep, on vacation, at work, working out, whatever the case is. A perfect example of a passive income stream or a passive side hustle would be things like content creation, creating a course, doing real estate, things like that. And last but not least is my personal favorite stream of income, and that is semi-passive. That's income that is actively managed in some way, shape, and form, but your income potential isn't directly tied to how much work or how much time you're putting into it. Whenever you're getting started with a side hustle, especially whenever you start seeing some success with that side hustle, I think it becomes very, very easy to get stuck into the hamster wheel of trading your time for money. And the problem with the hamster wheel of trading your time for money is just that. You are trading your time for money. And the moment you stop working is the moment that your income stream is cut off. For example, if you drive for Uber and you want to take a vacation, that's perfectly fine. Everybody needs a vacation. But in this case, you better be prepared to take a pay cut. Want to treat yourself to something nice and buy that thing that you've been eyeing for the last couple of months? That's fine. You should be able to afford it, but make sure that you work an extra 5 to 10 hours on your side hustle in order to justify that purchase. A side hustle is an excellent way to make extra cash for whatever you need that money for, but it is not a long-term solution in and of itself. You have to play the game correctly in order to get these long-term benefits that a side hustle can offer. And the 20-30-50 rule can help you do this. And it does this by ensuring that you're not trading your time for money with every single venture that you pursue. Now, let me explain how this applicably comes into play. Now, first off, I want to mention that whenever I talk about this rule, I am specifically talking about side hustle income. I'm not talking about your 9-to-5. Your regular 9-to-5 job stands on its own and is not clumped into whatever side hustle income that we're talking about in this video. So it is important to keep that in mind. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the 20-30-50 rule is the idea that 20% of your income comes from active income, 30% comes from passive, and 50% comes from semi-passive side hustles. Whenever we talk about the 20% active income, we're talking about a side hustle where you are actively trading your time for money. This would be something like driving for Uber Eats, driving for Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, dog walking, nannying, cleaning people's houses, doing something that you actively have to be involved in order to keep that operation running. It is something that you're not able to outsource, you're not able to automate, you're not able to make a passive stream of income. This is something that you're going to have to do, and if you're not doing it, then you're not making money at it. Active income has a really low barrier to entry, which means it's very low hanging fruit, but it's something that isn't scalable, so it's not a great long-term solution for your wealth building goals. Next, let's move on to the 30% in the 20-30-50 rule, and that is passive income. And what this is saying is that 30% of your side hustle income should come from a passive income source. Now, I know that passive income has a pretty bad reputation because of the fact that there are a bunch of internet gurus spouting the fact that a passive income stream is all you need in order to live the perfect life.
Here in my garage, just bought this knowledge.
And unfortunately, the reality is building a passive income stream is much easier said than done. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. Building the infrastructure and building out a passive income stream is incredibly important for your long-term wealth building goals. And by having the goal of having 30% of your side hustle income come from some sort of passive income stream, it helps keep your time in check to ensure that you aren't trading time for money with a bunch of different active side hustles. There are far too many examples of different passive income streams that you could pursue, but I have done a few videos on this in the past, so I will link those down in the description below. But the gist here is that 30% of your side hustle income should come from something that's considered a passive income source. And then last but not least is semi-passive. And under the 20-30-50 rule, 50% of your income should come from something that is semi-passive. Now, Turo is kind of the perfect example of a semi-passive income stream, and it's something that I talk about a ton on this channel. But to be honest, there are so many different options out there that you could pursue, from doing Airbnb, doing peer-to-peer car sharing, like Turo, for example. You could start a business that you then hire employees and outsource the work. There are simply a ton of different options to pursue. Now, the reason why I love semi-passive income is because of the fact that it truly is the best of both worlds between active and passive income. It's not as hard to set up and as hard to scale as passive income, but it's also not as limiting as active income, so it really is the best of both. Anybody can get involved with this semi-passive income stream, and you can make a ton of money with a relatively small time commitment. And the reason why the 20-30-50 rule is so powerful whenever we're talking about these different income streams is because of the fact that it allows for you to keep yourself accountable as to how you are making your money, making sure that your income is coming from scalable, sustainable sources rather than just from repeatedly trading your time for money over and over and over again. To give you some further context, let me tell you about how I use this rule to truly 25x my income in a matter of a couple of years. Back in 2019, I was struggling financially, and I had two main side hustles that I was pursuing. I was a Turo host, this was my semi-passive income, and I also had just began freelancing, which is my active income stream. During this period of time, I was kind of in between careers, and I decided to lean into side hustles in the gig economy in order to try to grow my wealth as much as possible. And very quickly, things started to go my way. I started leaning into freelancing and Turo more and more. I started buying more cars. I started getting more freelancing clients, and before I know it, I started making more and more money. This was awesome because as my Turo fleet grew, I was making more money. As my freelancing career grew, I was then able to invest even more money back into my Turo fleet. Things were going exactly to plan. But the only problem was I was working an absolute ton. I was a brand new beginner freelancer, and I was working 40, 50, 60 hours per week just to get clients through the door, to get them to pay me, to get their work completed, and to continue to grow my portfolio as a freelancer on Upwork. So though at the time I was making pretty decent money, I was having to trade a ton of time for that money. Fast forward, and I started diversifying my income even more. I started making money from YouTube. Once I started this YouTube channel, I really started to double down into content creation. I continued to grow my Turo fleet. All the while, I was still freelancing, trading my time for money, making an hourly wage. Then in the summer of 2020, about a year and a half after beginning my career as a freelancer, I finally asked myself the question, what am I doing? At the time, I had multiple side hustles that were generating quite a lot of money that didn't require me to trade my time for that money on an hourly basis. But even as these income streams started to grow, and even as I was making more and more money, I continued to work these hourly freelancing jobs because I've always prided myself of not being a quitter. And I told myself that I would be a professional freelancer, and I did not want to go back on my word on that. But the problem is that if you're somebody that is super focused on growing your wealth, there may be a point in time where you realize that your hourly gig just simply isn't worth it anymore. Not only because of the fact that it's underpaying in relation to how much you're making with these other side hustles, but also because of the fact that you are losing out on opportunity by working your 9-to-5 job. In my case, by working as a freelancer for an hourly wage. So a few days after coming to this realization, I told all of my clients that I would be ending my job as a freelancer. I told them I would be there for the next month to support them in the transition. And I told them that I was going full time on some of my other projects. And that was the very last time that I ever worked an hourly job. And it was the very last time that I spent 40 hours per week trading my time for money. From there, I sat down and I thoughtfully thought about how I want to make my money moving forward. It wasn't realistic to expect that I could make 100% of my income in a passive way. That's something that not only isn't really realistic for me, but it also wasn't something that I was interested in doing. And that's where I developed the 20-30-50 rule. With this rule, 20% of my income comes from active income that I'm actively working on, where I have to be present in order to function with this. 30% comes from passive, where I can make money whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm sleeping, whether I'm traveling the world. And then the other 50 comes from semi-passive, meaning I have to actively manage these income streams, but my time will never be tied to how much money I make. By developing these guidelines, I ensure myself that I do not get caught ever again in the hamster wheel of life, trying out these different side hustles that may be lucrative, but they end up costing me far too much time, which not only prohibits my freedom to do what I want in a day, but it also prohibits me from experimenting with other income sources. And there's a huge opportunity cost that comes along with that. I believe that the 20-30-50 rule is a great rule to keep in the back of your mind to help you keep yourself accountable, to make sure that you are not only starting a side hustle to make some extra money, but you're diving into the side hustle world in order to truly grow your wealth. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think side hustles are the best way to grow your wealth quickly, and I can speak to that from experience because it helped me do the same thing. But you have to ensure that you're not caught with these side hustles that are essentially just giving you another full-time job. You want to make sure that you're investing the time, money, and energy into income sources that can generate money on your terms, not vice versa. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.